Greetings, friends and foes, and welcome to Dads on Life, the weekly episodic podcast about parenting from the male perspective. You're hearing an interesting voice this morning introduce the show because our usual host is old. He saw another birthday, he's getting his walker and cane, and we're busy gathering his birthday greetings. From Dave and myself, who are here right now, happy birthday, old man. And let me introduce our show's host, Jason
Come
Miles.
on, get to it.
I just did. I want to introduce our show's host, Jason Miles. Okay. And of course, we have Dave Dusenberry with us.
How's it going, guys?
We have no idea where our compadres are, but they're out there somewhere and they may join along the way. And
Yeah.
I think this week we can talk about how our kids handle birthdays. What do they do when we have birthdays? What's their view on celebrating birthdays? Since a member of our pack here has achieved his AARP card, or it seems that way.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Jason, since your birthday was what, 2 or 3 days ago? Why don't you kick us off with what it is that your kids, how did they acknowledge your birthday?
2 or 3 days
It
ago.
was yesterday.
Wow.
I forget. It was something this week.
He's gonna bust my chops about getting old and suffering from dementia himself. Yeah, okay, that's good.
I'll drink to that.
um. Oh God, what did Delana say? I don't remember exactly. Sadie waited till midnight Saturday to go to bed, and then just to say happy birthday and bust my chops a little bit, and then pretty much about it. Got up, went to the meeting as usual. Had to go to the meeting yesterday. Then we went out and did a couple of things and went to dinner. That was pretty much about it. We really didn't do that much. Part of it is, if I'm being completely honest, since I got sober, it's just another freaking day. Honestly, that's all it is. So it doesn't phase me, And I try not to let it phase anyone else. So just kind of, okay, yeah. Hi, yes, today's my birthday, no big deal. And let's just keep moving forward.
And Dave, isn't this the sign of getting older? Is when you kind of put that in the background. It isn't as important anymore. The number's gotten so large that you don't really want to highlight it anymore,
I think so. I think that's fair. Birthdays, I've always I'm not a big holiday guy in general. Let me just preface this by saying I'm very kind of matter of fact about most holidays anyway. But holidays, especially things like birthdays and stuff like that, tend to be geared around the younger folk, right? Younger kids, you make a big deal of the birthday parties and the celebrations and the birthdays and the colored paper and all the friends over and all the ice cream and all this other stuff, right? Um, as I think as you get older, it marks the passing of another year. Some people get introspective about birthdays. Some people, are just like, well, whatever. I'm on the train, and then you really only put effort into like milestone birthdays, like 50 or 40 or something along those lines, right?
Mhm.
And again, I'm like I said, I'm a very matter of fact guy about my birthday. Even my 50th was not like a crazy to do thing. I had a lot of stuff going on last year when I turned 50, so that's probably a big part of it. Um, with my kids, especially now that like my daughter's out of the house and my two boys split time between my house and their mom's house. We kind of, when it comes to celebrating birthdays, we don't really care about the day that it falls on as much. It's more of when everybody's actually able to get together to do a little something for it. It's more of a logistics matter, I guess, than a celebratory date matter. Um, at least in my house. they get me a little something sometimes. I don't make a big fuss about it. I'm very practical about my things, and I'm also a really bad gift buyer because I don't like making assumptions about people. I'm very, what do you need? I'll get this for you. I'm not one of those likes to go looking around for like the perfect present for somebody and gives it. My wife is like that, which I give her all the credit in the world for. She's fantastic. That's just, I don't have time for that. I like to hope at least that my kids appreciate my practical approach at some time, even if it's maybe not the most thoughtful thing. We're just kind of like, what do you need? Let's get it done.
I find it funny that this topic was brought up by the guy who doesn't celebrate holidays at all.
Okay, you can continue, but I'm going to clarify after you're done.
It's the truth. He's the one who rips all of them, Mother's Day, Father's Day, all of it for being greeting card holidays and all that shit. And he's gonna sit here and talk about this. That's why I kind of was like, what the hell is he doing? No, yeah, that it's just, it's just another number. It's not really that big a deal. And I'm feeling different. I mean, I'll explain. I'll say something more towards the end. I don't want to talk about it right now, but I'll say something a little more of what I said. Something I said yesterday towards the end. But yeah, it's just, it's just another day. It's just another year. And I'm grateful to have it above ground.
That's true.
Other than that, I mean, there's so much else going on right now that it's just like, okay,
It's interesting you say that, because I think a lot of people stop to acknowledge and perhaps even celebrate birthdays because there's so much else going on, and that it's like their breather. Okay,
Uh-huh.
we have 1,000 things going on, but we're going to stop for the next 2 hours and have a party, just so we can focus on one thing and make it positive. So in that regard, holidays, particularly birthdays, are extraordinarily useful in that way.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
And I have not, I don't necessarily highlight my own birthday, but because of the crowds that I run with, a lot of people celebrate them for me, whether I want them to or not. So I find myself frequently in the middle of surprise events that aren't such a surprise, but people absolutely acknowledge it for sure. I haven't hidden my birthday on Facebook, so I get tons and tons of greetings, as you did, Jason. I saw that. And my networking group, Jason's actually acknowledging the world at 10:30 in the morning because he's gotten so many already at that point. I mean, F you. So
Time out.
What?
You're the one that left the group because I put your age out there. So fuck you.
No.
Yes,
Let's
you did.
Go back.
Yes,
I said I acknowledge my birthday. I don't want my age bandied about for identity theft reasons.
Oh, you big pansy. No one's even in. There was like 30 people in the friggin' group, you big wuss.
Well, he's always painted this as, millions of people, so I had no idea. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying, because we want to hear from the intelligent people and not the Jasons of the world. He's too old now. He's feeble. He's not making a whole lot of sense, but that's okay.
Oh.
I will say that over the years,
15 years difference, motherfucker.
Early on in my marriage, for instance, and look, my wife was very well-meaning and all that, and she was raised a little bit differently than I was. It was a huge event, all birthdays, especially for the kids, but for all of us, huge event, all sorts of presents, all sorts of hoopla, and because that's not the way I was raised, it kind of turned me off a little bit, and we kind of disagreed on that sort of thing. And here we are years later, and I can think back and I can appreciate what she was trying to do, but it sort of pushed me away from the idea of celebrating it, if you will. And yes, now I'm octogenarian or whatever I am. I'm older now, and I just don't care as much. And so I make very little of it. I like to highlight other people's birthdays, but I like to ignore my own, which is really interesting. And I'm sure there are other people out there like that too. And my kids, I think, are sort of following me as opposed to her, and not necessarily one's right or one's wrong, but she, whenever they have birthdays, she makes sure to get she gets them like a grab bag of small stuff. She definitely acknowledges it. Whereas I'll acknowledge it at various points during the year. Very, very much like Dave, I'm very practical about it. It's like whenever you need something, we're going to go get it. And sometimes it's a fun thing, and sometimes it's a need thing, whatever. But I'm not going to sit there and buy something on September 10th, knowing that Justin's birthday is in May, and saying, "Well, that's a perfect birthday present. I'm going to wait all the way to May to give it to him."
Yeah.
No, just give it to him then.
Yeah.
And in reverse, my kids have they sort of follow my pattern, so they'll give me greetings, but they don't do much else at all, which is fine because that's kind of the way I had wanted it. Although, as widely known now, Justin stepped out of that mode this past year, and because it was that special birthday, I guess. But he takes me to Billy Joel. Holy crap! It's a sign of my son has become a man and is self-sufficient. He goes, you can imagine how expensive those tickets were. I do not know the number, but I don't even want to know because it was pretty expensive. That was pretty cool, and I think Jeremy will follow suit in the coming years, because now he's about to finish college, God help me, and he'll be back in the area as well. But I don't, one of the things I taught them was, if we're going to do something for a birthday, we do it together. It's not just about the person who's having the birthday, it's everybody together doing it. So in that regard, I don't mind observing it. I just don't go out of my way to do it myself. By the way, Jason, I will acknowledge you're absolutely right. I think Mother's Day, Father's Day, St. Valentine's Day, Madison Avenue bullshit. Sorry. They are all legitimate holidays, except what they started as and what they became. Oh, Halloween too, by the way. What they became
Patrick's Day.
because of Madison Avenue was something totally different. They don't even
Yeah.
resemble what they were meant to be. Hanukkah is like that too, by the way.
Oh,
For those
St.
people who don't know that, Hanukkah
Yeah.
is supposed to be the most minor holiday
Mhm.
in Jewish religion.
Purim is supposed to be a bigger celebration than Hanukkah.
Right.
Purim's supposed to be a freaking party, and you don't see anything corporate spoken about Purim.
Because Purim is not in December.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Madison Avenue said, "Oh, it's right by Christmas, so we must do something Christmas-like." That's horseshit.
Well,
It-
St.
it's about the
Patrick's
giving
Day.
of presents, but so
Yes.
it's about only the children, little children, are supposed to get the presents, and it's about really token little things like here's a candy bar. I mean, literally little things.
Yeah.
Well, St. Patrick's Day. They and I'll do that real quick. He wore blue. There was no green in him.
Really? I didn't
Yeah,
know
St. Patrick's color was blue. His robes were blue in most cases. He had a couple of green ones, but mostly he wore blue. There were no snakes in Ireland, so you can't drive a snake out of a country that there's no snakes in. It was a dry holiday in Ireland. It was a holiday of abstinence.
It is not a dry holiday now.
These are American. Everything is American bastardizations of what it really is in this aspect.
I didn't even know that stuff, and that even reinforces my thinking even more.
Oh yeah. St. Patrick's Day is an American screw up of a Irish, actually, really religious holiday.
Well, but on the other hand, I can understand why we would need St. Patrick's Day here in the United States, because if it was about driving the snakes out, we have so many snakes here to drive out. Wait a minute, sorry, we're getting off on the wrong topic.
No,
yeah. So
and
anyway, I mean, listen,
there's more.
if people want to celebrate those holidays, that's all well and good. That's fine. And when I was married, I got her roses every year, and even after we were not a couple anymore, I made sure we got roses for a number of years from the boys. It wasn't from me, of course, but it was from the boys. So I did all the right stuff. We always got the card and the box of chocolates for Valentine's Day, and for Mother's Day. But it's all concocted crap. To get to my philosophy that Jason, I know I've told you about, and that is when she and I were thinking about going our separate ways. One of the things I said to her, we were talking about schedules for the boys, because at that point they were kind of youngish.
Yep.
Who should get them when and all that. And I said, look, one of the things we got to start with is you can have them for every holiday, every single holiday. I don't care, because the days that I'm with them are holidays. So
Right.
it's always my birthday and Father's Day and Hanukkah rolled into one when I'm with them. So as long as I get them half the time, as it turned out, it took us so long to finally split that really was never a thing. We never had to set schedules. But had we needed to, had the kids been younger, my philosophy was always, and it probably would have helped the negotiation, if you will, because most of those holidays are kind of important to her. They make sense to her much more than me.
Yeah.
But I mean, you want them on my birthday? Go right ahead. Just make sure I get them half the time. It is. You're right, Jason. It is a numerical thing that doesn't have a whole lot of meaning. By the way, Jason, you turned your specific age 9 months ago. Didn't you know that?
What?
In insurance circles, in life insurance circles, you're 9 months older because you
Yes.
are your birthday is when you were conceived or projected to have conceived. If you want to tie that into Alabama, no, we're not going to have that podcast now. But isn't that amazing?
Look, all I know is that I'm hitting the HOV lanes big time the next time I get a dozen eggs.
Absolutely, I've seen that meme all over the place.
Anyway, yeah, no, and you know what? I look at it now as, holidays and birthdays. I think, to Keith, to your point, I think I feel like they're more for the family than they are for the individual. You know, like Mother's Day, I always looked at Mother's Day more for a celebration of my mom when she was here. I always preach to the boys that Mother's Day is the day that they should celebrate their mom. I could care less. Like, not my not my thing. And it's funny because Father's Day is an interesting thing because oftentimes Father's Day and my birthday fall on the same day. They often happen together. So, or somewhere around the same weekend time, right? So we usually just kind of roll all of that stuff up together.
Mm-hmm. Same here.
Yeah, so yours is a week before usually, right? Or is it in the same week?
It's like right
I
at
think
the
it
same
might have
week.
been. I think it might
Yeah.
have been on Father's Day. Has been on the 15th. I'm pretty sure a couple of times.
Yeah.
Sure
Well,
it
I
is.
mean,
Yeah.
But it's
my
the third. It's the third Sunday. Yeah, it could third Sunday in June. Yeah, it could
my
be.
my 21st birthday fell on Father's Day, and I remember that because I spent the morning of my 21st birthday in church with my parents.
It was the last time he went to church too, by the way.
It's not the last time, but probably closer than it should be. Anyway, but it's and so and also to your point, Keith, I think I don't celebrate holidays, like it's not my thing, but I'm more in the mindfulness that I try to enjoy what I have while I have it when it's there. Maximize the time that you have while you have it, and still make almost like like I said, make every day a holiday as much as you can.
Mhm.
It's nice to take a step back and relax as much as you can, but if I'm relaxing on a holiday, that means somebody somewhere is working a lot harder, right? That's always the trade-off.
This is
Um,
true.
and I'm not one that likes to kind of push my stresses on others if I can possibly avoid it. You know, we take things as they go. I let it roll off, and then we go forward. My kids, it's. Look, I'm always grateful when they take the time, if they make a little something for me, or they get me a little something. I'm very, very grateful for that. I say, I appreciate guys. Completely not necessary if you feel you don't have the means to, or don't, or whatnot. Totally cool. Um, but if they do it because they want to show their love and appreciation for me, I'm not going to say no. Um, and I appreciate it's stuff like that. I think that means more to me because you're doing it because you want to, not because some big
Mm-hmm.
entity tells you that you have to.
And that's exactly what I was getting at before is, again, I always appreciated, not, I didn't necessarily show it the right way. I probably fumbled it a lot and in my relationship with my wife at the time, but it was always appreciated that she would take the time to do the celebration of whatever event, Father's Day, birthday, taking care of the kids for birthdays, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it felt so contrived.
Yeah.
It felt like it had to happen. Like there was preparation needed, and there was execution needed, and there was timing needed, and all.
Uh-huh.
And because I'm just happy when the family's together every single day. It was definitely a difference of philosophies. Yeah, I didn't ever want the kids to feel like, quite frankly, things revolved around me. I didn't want to be that center of attention. I wanted them to be the center of attention, but
Yeah.
not just for their birthdays all the time.
Yeah.
And that's a reflection on um what you've told us about her. That's a reflection on your ex-wife.
But it's not necessarily a bad thing because she's more traditional than I am. Just because I disagree with or don't follow the same practice that she did, I've learned over time that it's just as good, it's just as bad, whatever. I used to resent it, but I think time and space have allowed me to put it where it belongs, which is I can appreciate it now. It's just not my style. But back then there was conflict. There was definitely conflict between us because we had such different ways of looking at it. And that conflict rubbed off on the kids. You could see it for sure.
Yeah. And I think, look, familial, family influence on that as you're growing up matters in that sense, right? So my wife, her sister, believes in celebrating her birthday month. Like I,
I know people like that. Yep.
Yeah.
then it's the month of my birthday, and I am just gonna go have a good time, celebrate, get with my friends, get with my family, do all kinds of things, and celebrate the entire month because it's all about me this month. And look, that's cool. If that's what you want to do, that's cool, right? My ex was, their family was very into doing the major holidays. She was also from a very, very large family. So holidays was the time that you were actually able to bring freaking 35, 40 people together in one place and everybody catches up,
Right.
right? So
Right.
that's where the focus on wanting to do something cool for the holidays comes from. You have all of these different scattered pieces. It's really hard to get everybody together. So the times that you can do it, you use those holidays as a conduit to kind of bring everybody together to catch up, right? So I get that. My family, pretty damn small, right? So, in that sense, and I don't have a lot of extended family. So I think that kind of plays into my holidays aren't a very big deal because it's never, at least if it's just me. I mean, I had my mom, my dad, my brother, myself. I didn't meet my sister until I was 35. I have my dad is the oldest of five, and I have four first cousins, and none of them have kids. Like, it's a very,
Wow.
very, very small family. So
Wow, that's interesting.
yeah, my dad is the oldest of
David,
five.
Dave and I are almost identical in that. I think I have
Yeah,
less people in my family than he has in his.
my dad is the oldest of five. My
Oh,
mom is the
wow.
oldest of three, and I have four first cousins, and none of them have kids. So
I mean, I don't have I had a my mother was one of nine, my father was one of five. My mother has uh two siblings left? Three siblings left. Three. I forgot about my Aunt Patty. Three siblings left.
You're not going to tell Patty you said that.
My father doesn't have any. Um, my father's sister passed away. Uh, it'll be 3 years. 3 years coming up. We're not going to get into the hows and whys of that one. Not time or place.
That
But
kind of acknowledgement is what happens when you get old, Jason.
no,
Point that out.
but
I've lost a bunch of first cousins already. There's maybe 7 of us on my mother's side, or 8 of us left on my mother's side. I'd have to do the figure on that one. I only talked to one on my father's side, really. there was me and Donna were the only one with multiple. Oh no, my Uncle Ronnie had 2 kids too, but we don't really talk to them much at all. Um, don't talk to the one who the aunt who passed away a couple of years ago's daughter. Um, talk a little bit to the other one. I see my cousin Chris and talk to him more than anyone. But a lot, yeah, a lot of people are gone.
Yeah.
Like I
You
said,
know,
I mean, I've said on other shows why, uh, for one reason, and I'll circle back into that later. Um, but yeah, it's as time goes on, it's just been seemingly one thing after another. I will say that. I mean, we just about 2 months ago or a month and a half, no, probably about 2 months ago, maybe a little more than that, maybe three. We lost my cousin to cancer at 43 or 43. I'm pretty sure. I think I ended up doing the math that I of the three of us that are closest in age at that point, I'm the oldest. Um, my one cousin is, oh, sorry, a year 8 months older, 8 months younger. The other one is almost to the day a year younger than me. My cousin Jess, but um, it's tough to watch those things happen like that, especially at a young age. But when you factor in extenuating circumstances,
yeah.
even with something like cancer, you kind of see things like that coming.
Yep.
So, but I know my wife's family. There's it's a very similar situation. There's a bunch of a lot of them are in Chicago and that, but there's a pretty good amount of. I'm not saying that, but there's a large family. They have a pretty large family too.
Yeah.
It's tough to get everybody together, but because you have them in different places in the country, but
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
what you're saying is definitely food for why celebrating events is a good thing.
Yeah. You
Uh,
know,
and- but I like to celebrate getting together. I don't necessarily subscribe to all the presents and the hoopla and all that. I just want to spend time together, which, especially since their grandfather passed away on her side several years ago, I've been every time Jeremy's home. Did you go see your grandmother? Did you go see your grandmother? She's the only grandparent left. They never got to know my parents. They were long gone before they were born. So
Mhm.
talk about a small family, Jason. You know what I got going on here. Um, I in counting, I grew up in a world where I had three brothers, two parents, an aunt in New York who was married with no kids, an uncle in Brazil who's always lived in Brazil, not
Mhm.
married, no that I knew of, no kids. Um, and I grew up in a world thinking I had no cousins. And it hasn't changed radically, but about 8 years ago, I learned that my uncle in Brazil has a son. And he's about 40. So that was cool. Apparently, I have a first cousin, one.
Mhm.
And just a few weeks ago, as you may have seen on Facebook, I learned that I have a cousin in California who lives a few blocks away from one of my brothers, I mean, like a second cousin once removed, whatever the hell that means. I don't even know what that means.
yeah.
But they were able to trace the bloodline for me, so there is some connection apparently. Very nice person, so we got along great. Um, so very small family. But my all my grandparents are gone. Oh yeah, in the world I grew up in, I had uh, my father's parents were together, and my mother's father was alive, but they're all obviously long gone. They would be like 125 by now. My parents are gone. One of my brothers is gone. So what's left? Two brothers, the one first cousin, the one second cousin, and then there's the next generation. Thank goodness we actually tried to repopulate a little bit, so there's five kids. throughout the brothers. Uh, ain't much. So I definitely push them to wait. I've set up group chats, and they've started. They talk a lot with their peers, their direct cousins, um, because they hadn't figured out how to do that. So we got group chats going several years ago, and now that they talk to each other more than they talk to us, which is great. Um,
Yeah.
uh, Not a whole lot of people to get together with, but they've gotten really good also at remembering birthdays. I used to have to remind them, don't forget your mother's birthday's today.
Yeah.
Now they totally get it and they totally remember that stuff. I don't have to say a word, haven't in several years. Same thing with Mother's Day. I used to remind them all the time. I used to go out and get stuff for them. Now I
Yeah.
completely ignore it. And they've gotten it finally. They're old enough now.
Yeah.
So,
And I think to kind of play along with that, something that we're kind of all talking about is, obviously the topic is birthdays and how, celebrating and things like that, and how do you go about it? One of the things I said actually during my divorce and settlement, things like that, when it came to my kids is, you could always make more money, but you can't make more time. So I think as families deal with attrition, as people leave this world, um, especially in cases, like I said, with my family, where at one point in time, my family was pretty big. I mean, the Duesenberry side of my family, there are quite a few of them. I mean, um, and now it's funny because I look and it's up to my two boys on our line of the family are the last Duesenberries, which is kind of weird, you know. I've mentioned my sister before, who's my full blood sister, who was given up for adoption when she was born. I didn't meet her until I was 35, and overnight, um, I had for the first time in my life, I had a niece and two nephews. I don't have any of those anywhere else. um, and it took establishing that relationship before getting that and expanding my side of the family like literally sixfold. I mean, we went from my three kids to who were the only kids on my side of the family. All of it automatically it doubled.
that,
Um, and that's it's wild to think about. And for a few years when they came in, holidays mattered again. And I kind of draw a correlation between the size of the family that you get together with and that you're social with on a regular basis to how it can be important in terms of holidays. Like when I was together with my ex, as I said, her family was very big. I had a great time hanging out with that side of the family on holidays. We had an awesome time. Lots of people, big socializing, blah 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 blah. Now that it's you know, my individual size family is small. My wife's family is big, but they don't always all kind of congregate together a lot. Um, they do like they'll throw parties and stuff like that, but they're more North Jersey folks, and we just don't get a chance to get up there that much. Um, you know, the size of the family I think impacts holidays and special time because it's so logistically hard to get everybody together. Um, and to kind of go along your point, like with cousins and extended family kind of building relationships and getting together. My oldest son actually just recently told me the other day that he's so he's my music nut, right? He goes to all the concerts. He's planning out his concert schedule next year, and he told me that his cousin, my sister's youngest son but middle child, um, invited him to come up their way. They live in north central Pennsylvania. Um, to hang out with him and go see KMFDM together. I'm a big KMFDM fan. I've introduced my son to KMFDM. He loves them. And his cousin invited him, said, "Hey, do you want to go?" And my son thought this was like the coolest thing because like he likes KMFDM because I turned him on to him. So he gets a chance to finally go see KMFDM for what they are, whatever. It is what it is. But B, he gets like this is the first time he's getting together, hanging out with his cousin without like parents around or anything like that. He's just gonna head up there. They're gonna go check out a show together, and I'm like that's really cool. Honestly, I've never hung out with my cousins. Like aside from like doing things as like little kids as a family, I think once I hung out with my one cousin on my mom's side. I have two cousins on my mom's side, two on my dad. I had one hangout experience in my 20s with one of my cousins on my mom's side. I see one of my cousins on my dad's side periodically here and there, but I don't socialize. Like I haven't hung out with them, you know? Um, so seeing that kind of relationship bridge built there is kind of cool. It's kind of cool. I'm strongly going to encourage it. I think it's cool. I
Yeah,
don't know where I was
I
going with this. I
encourage
just got off track.
I encourage that group all the time. By the way, I did neglect to say that my sons do have three other cousins, but I'm not related to them anymore because they are the children of my wife's brother, my ex-wife's brother. So
Yeah.
I forgot about those three, and they're good kids and all that. So they do have a bunch of cousins.
Yeah.
But the chats that I've set up are definitely amongst the five that are that are Bogan line kids. And I like, for the most part, they have a pretty good communication going with them. Um, I'm envious. What is a cousin? I never knew what a cousin was. By the way, the one cousin I do have, I've never met him. Now that I know he exists, it's like 8 years ago or so, I found out he exists, but he lives in Brazil. And to the best of my knowledge, he doesn't speak very much English. So it'll be a very interesting meeting if I ever do meet him, because I don't speak a whole lot of Portuguese. So, in fact, none. So I don't know how that's going to work, but we'll see if I ever get to meet him. I have to find out when his birthday is. Getting back to the theme of the show,
Oh, jeez.
I have no idea when his birthday is, so I should probably check that out. We shall see. There's a plan afoot. My uncle turns 90 in October or November of 2025. So there's a plan afoot to possibly go and celebrate his birthday. I haven't seen him at least 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been,
Wow.
I want to say 1987 was the last time, so it's probably longer than that. When when his father, my grandfather, passed away. It wasn't the best of family relations. My sons have no clue who he is. They've heard this name bandied about, and that's it. Obviously no contact. And he is a man of very, very, very different political persuasions. So now that we have actually started talking in the last couple of years again, we've had some interesting conversations. So yeah, that doesn't usually go well either. But yeah, small families, good reasons to celebrate, good reasons to at least get together and spend time with people.
Hmm.
And I like it to be for a little bit more than weddings and funerals. That would be good too.
Yep. Yep.
So we chased Jason out of the picture. Look at that.
Oh, we are efficient.
Mm-hmm. So your birthday this week was quiet, Jason?
Yesterday. Jesus Christ.
I don't know when your birthday was. I'm old. I'm feeble. I don't remember these things.
Yeah, it was pretty much. I was in a meeting and there was a guy who was speaking, and I think his wife is one of our home group members. Um, and she said, and I guess they've been together like 10 years, something like that, maybe a little more. And I remember telling Elise, I said, if somebody would have told me that I'd be where, what I said along the way in the meeting was, Sadie was a month old when I turned 35. And obviously still very caught in my addiction. And I remember saying, that if somebody would have told me that where I'd be, a little over well, almost going towards 4 years sober now, with both feet firmly planted on the road less traveled, and knowing that everything was obviously, I mean, not great. Everything's okay, and it's gonna be okay. I I wouldn't have believed it. Um, but here we are. Um,
Do
it, it it's
your kids celebrate your anniversaries with you? And I'm talking about the anniversaries of
yeah,
sobriety.
yeah, they do. There's a conversation that needs to be had about this year, but we'll see. Um, this is the first one that happens on the day, and Elise, well, Elise's cousin's getting married in September, and there's a bridal shower on that day. We're not going to the wedding anyway, but I'm just gonna be like, if you're not going to the wedding, just send them something. So, um, yeah, that uh, I don't think that's more important than my birthday, but um, to me, it means a little more. But
Yeah.
that as time goes on now, that will start to wane too, because it'll just, after a while, it'll just become another year. Um,
It's interesting you say that because in my knowledge of people who have achieved sobriety, it almost seems not important's not the right word, but it seems to be acknowledged much more than birthdays on a yearly basis. Not even it's not like now let's get to every 5 years or every 10. It's a big thing every year, whereas birthdays can sort of fade into the background.
because
Yeah,
it
that's what.
circles, because it all circles back to one of the big reasons of why we do it is to set an example for those coming in,
Yeah.
to show them that it can be done. So when you get, you know, double digits to them, the number can become daunting, but it is, we are supposed to be examples. So that's what it comes down to of you want to be the example for them. Now, I'll parlay this into something um that happened 10 days ago. Um and it's why on Facebook you can put up a fundraiser for your birthday, which I usually do every year. This year I kind of went, oh yeah, that's a good one. 10 days ago we had shocking news that somebody I used to work with, who I was still in touch with, and a friend passed away last Wednesday. Keith had the pleasure of meeting him and his wife in September, and actually, I'll get to the rest of that in a second. He just turned 48 last month, and sadly, his wife's birthday was 4 days before mine, the 20th. So it's been, obviously a rough time for her and with things going on, everything going on.
Yeah.
But when I saw her on Wednesday, the second thing out of her mouth was, "We just saw you in September." And I had been thinking that all week. I was thinking that, and I wasn't going to say it. She said it. I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I just saw you." And I told Keith, he he had a stroke a couple of years ago, but besides from moving noticeably a little slower, cognitively he's fine. And it was very Dave. He was very Dave. Let's put it that way. He was always, there are people in this life that make an impact and it lasts throughout yours. And Dave was one of them. And he put up in lieu of flowers, they put on, I can't remember exactly the name of the organization. I'll put it up in the group later when Dickhead here finally posts this, which will
Thursday.
probably be sometime next week.
Thursday.
Mhm.
Speaking of forgetful, Um, uh, it's a really good organization. Um, Dave was a big charity guy, and it was, that one caught my eye. I'm like, wow. Um, yeah, that was a rough one. It's part of the reason of why things have been so difficult the last 10 days. Um, I mean, there's other plus we've been running running around a lot with doing stuff for AA, and that last week included of speaking in front of 350 people,
Mm-hmm.
which it's I sent the guys here a picture of the room empty and was like, what am I thinking? Knowing what was coming. It was like being in front of a firing squad for a second.
Was that recorded, by the way? Do we get a chance to
No,
see?
nope.
Ah,
Yeah, AA. What is the second A?
I know, but I still want to see you speak.
Well, that can be arranged. I mean,
In
you
front
can
of
always
hundreds
come
of
in.
people.
No, that's not probably not gonna happen again. Um,
You should.
unless I have to do something for area literature, we'll see. Um, but that again, it's going to be getting you into an event. Um, we'll see about that. Um,
Well, certainly as we get older, getting together and celebrating things like birthdays has definitely more meaning for sure.
mhm.
Holidays and such. And I suppose I've been almost a cranky old man when it comes to that, trying to avoid it and what have you. But it gives people a good reason to get together in our busy lives when we don't necessarily take the time to spend as much time together as we should. I'm really good about spending time with my kids, although I actually think I'm bad. Everybody else thinks I'm really good at it.
Mhm.
And uh, but we could do better just in general. I mean, how often do you and I get together? Not nearly as often as we should. We're just, and it's always, oh, we're busy, we're busy, we're busy. We're not, nobody's good enough to slow down. Nobody's smart enough to slow down and sacrifice the things that they think they're supposed to do in favor of the things that we should be doing.
I wanted to say the last time was Springsteen, but it wasn't. The three of us did the opening weekend of the NFL season, so that was the beginning of September.
How about we
Mm.
also went to that concert with in Salties.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
shit, that's right. That's right. That was last month, January.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
LOA.
So
January.
there are some touch points, which is good, which is good.
Mhm.
I learned that night what it's like to stand behind a Duesenberry. It was good. It was good.
You know, but yeah, when it comes to birthdays, you know, for my kids, I appreciate what they do for my birthday. I see what they do for their friends and their peers' birthdays. I remember being there when I was their age. Um, you know, I think that feeling or that urge to want to get together and make it a big social event is in direct relation to the number of friends, family, peers, and people in your life at the time. I think, and part of it is obviously plays into personality. If you're the extroverted type, you're going to want to go out. If you're the introverted type, well, then everybody can stay home.
Mhm.
Um, you know, but you know, I've always considered myself a pretty hardcore extrovert, and I don't make a big deal of my birthday anymore because the number of the people, I guess, that I really like, love and care about, and that I would want to be there for like a big family celebration has waned over the years. Even my social circles have all waned. Like I don't have as big a social circle as I did even, 5 or 6 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, and as that stuff weighs down, the less people, I guess, if there aren't as many people that I would really want to be there, it reduces the importance on what that day is for me and makes it more of just another day. I need to take care of what I got to take care of, cover what I got to cover.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I think both of those things play into it. And it goes back to what I originally said. Birthdays and holidays like that are for the young. Um, they have the energy, they have the exuberance, they have the big social circles, the big families. And it's I think it's more for them. Ironically, though, I think as you get older, there comes a tipping point when your kids are grown and you've become, if you're lucky to get there, at such an advanced age that celebrating the oldest members of your family now takes on a greater importance. It did in my ex's family. Uh, she still has a grandmother that I think is in her mid 90s, so they still have regular celebrations for her. Um, I know we did for my oldest relatives. I mean, my one great grandmother lived to be 102, and I remember celebrating her birthdays up in Roselle Park. So it kind of comes back around, but again, I think that's contingent on now your younger folks. Now they've got married. Now they have families. Now your family has grown again. So now the size of the family is big again. It makes for people to kind of come together to celebrate, those matriarchs and patriarchs that kind of come together.
Mm-hmm.
You just gave me an idea, actually, now that I think about it. My kids are not going to think about this, but their grandmother's birthday is going to be at the end of March. Jeremy will be home in the middle of March for spring break. They need to throw a party. Not, I won't have anything to do with it, but I think I need to push a little bit. And she's
How old is
85 or 86. I actually saw her by accident because we don't have any contact, of course. I saw her by accident just a few days ago, and she actually looked great. I mean, she's always been in really good shape, and she looked fabulous. So I don't think, like, it's not like anything's imminent, but yeah, I've learned the hard way many times in my dwindling family that nothing, you can look great and be gone the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Another
think that,
reason for them to celebrate.
yeah, I think that's probably a good place to leave us for this
I thought
week.
that was my job today, was to wrap this up. I don't understand.
My birthday, and this is my show month.
I don't know, you feeble old man. I don't know if you can handle it, dude.
Well, to be fair, he hasn't nodded off during the show, so I guess that's a plus.
That's like I just noticed a little while ago, because I'm feeble and old, that the image behind you isn't actually just an image, but a video that's on loop.
Yep.
I'm not sure about Jason. He might be an image that's on loop too. He might be nodding off in the background without us knowing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, as your birthday present, Mr. Miles, you may wrap it up for us.
You're allowed.
So from all of us here at Dad's on Life, take care, everybody. And of course, Keith, eat my shirts.